Hey, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo gets accused of physical and verbal sexual harassment. Minari wins Golden Globes Best Motion Picture for Foreign Film. What's happening, folks? Welcome to the Millennial Boomer Podcast. It's your host, Jonathan. Let's get it. Guys, I hope everyone is doing well. All right. If you're listening to this, thank you for listening. And I hope you guys are doing okay. All right. Look, the weather's getting warmer. All right. People are getting vaccinated. Things are looking okay. Right. Things are looking okay. I think I'm going to I will get vaccinated in April. So the first shot will come first or second week of April. And then I'll take the second shot 3 weeks after. Look, I'm getting vaccinated not because I'm scared of COVID and the damage it can do, the potential lethal damage it can do. I'm really taking the vaccine because if somehow I did catch COVID, I don't want to deal with the symptoms afterwards. Well, not the symptoms, the side effects, right? Because after you catch COVID, a lot of people, they lose their a sense of taste, smell, and all, and they go, and I just don't want that. I don't want to deal with that, right? I want to be able to not worry about COVID. I want to be able to get on a fucking plane and not quarantine and have that sense of freedom. Because they'll probably come out with like a COVID passport, like a vaccine passport shortly. So I'm going to assume that if you did take the vaccine, that and you do travel, let's say within states or to a different country, you don't have to quarantine, right? That's my hope. Look, guys, I haven't been on an airplane in probably 4 years. Okay, so it's time for me to get out of New York for a little bit. So hopefully sometime in May, I'll be able to go somewhere. Guys, look, if you listen, if you follow me, I thought about this, and you may hate it, you may think it's genius, probably will hate it more, but I'll be calling you guys the Conde fam. All right. So if you're a supporter of mine, you guys are now part of the Conde fam. Now, what does Conde mean? Right? Conde is a Korean word, and it's actually not that easy to explain. I got this definition off the internet, and I think it's okay. So guys, this is what a Conde is. Right? The slang noun Conde was originally used by students and teenagers to refer to older people, such as fathers, teachers. Recently, however, the word has been used to refer to a boss or an older person who does so-called kondaejit, right? Acting like a konde in the Korean language that forces the former's outdated way of thinking onto another person. Another site said konde means like boomer, right? Or like when you kind of say like, okay, boomer, like that kind of meme or that kind of, that kind of joke. It's similar to when you would say, oh, this person is a conde, right? So look, why am I choosing this word? Because if you know me by now, I am a millennial, right? I mean, I'm of this generation, born as a millennial, but a lot of times my actions and my words can sound a little like not of this generation, okay? And I say things and I do things that, well, definitely seem boomerish. So, if you support that, if you like that, if you fuck with that, then you guys are part of the Conde fam. So, my peoples, welcome to the Conde fam. Okay? That's who you guys are. Thanks. Anyway, I'm going to share a story. And, this is a personal story. This is a really personal story of mine. I think I might have shared it in previous podcasts. I don't remember, but hopefully when you guys listen, you'll have a better understanding of why I'm even here and why I'm doing this, and why I think the way I do. You'll have a little better idea, right? So look, back in the day, I wanna go back. Let's go back to 2013, right? 2013 is when I joined the bank. I'm not gonna name the bank, but I did join a bank, right? A large bank. And I used to wear a suit and tie, right? Every day to work, right? So from 2013 to 2018, I was part of this bank. And listen, I was I wasn't just a typical banking employee. All right. I was all about that life. I was all about that banking life, right? I was a hardcore banker for that bank, right? Everything that bank did, everything from, the small things to the big international things that they did, I was a big advocate for. And, I had my dreams to move up the corporate ladder and do all sorts of things, right? I was all about that, like within the retail banking and wealth management, I was all about that life. Anyone who knew me while I used to be in banking, they would tell you, right? I was a very proud person of the bank, right? I liked what I did, and I was set to work at that bank till I retire, right? And that was it. Well, unfortunately, what happened was back in 2000, I want to say 2018 in February, there was a colleague of mine, right? She was in a different position, but we were somewhat colleagues. She was in one of the branches that I worked at. And what happened was that this particular colleague, she wanted to move up, right? She wanted to do what I did. And at the time in 2018, I did like wealth management, relationship management. Basically I took care of accounts and households with a certain level of assets, right? And she wanted to do what I did. So she wanted to move up. And, she was hungry. She was extremely like a go-getter. Like, she was focused. Now, there were times when she was a little crazy and her emotions got the best of her. But for the most part, I tried to see the good in her, right? And she wanted to move up. And she wanted to sort of join the team that I was a part of, right? Because at the time I was very well liked, right, within the bank. So if I put your name up, if I put your name up and I say, hey, this person is good, they're qualified, they have a lot of potential, you should move this person up to a higher position, that wasn't taken lightly, right? And I didn't say these things lightly. So in essence, I took her under my wing, right? And I not only did I mentor her or teach her how to do things, I also worked with her, right? There were certain situations where we would work on certain deals and certain clients together, and we had a good relationship. And outside the bank, we were also friends, right? I would introduce her to some of my friends. I would introduce her to certain circles, and overall, she was what I thought a person at the time. At the time, she was a person that I thought would benefit me in the long run, right? Because if I put you under my wing, right, I want to see you grow. I don't want to see you fail, right? I want to see you grow. And as you grow and as you gain recognition within the bank, my name value goes up as well, right? Because I was a person that sort of brought this person up. So it was in my best interest to make sure, if everyone knew in the bank, oh, this person, this banker is under, I don't want to say under, but Jonathan is mentoring this certain banker. It's very important that she does well. What happened was this certain individual got a little bit too greedy, right? She wanted to grow within the banking structure a lot faster. She wanted to just kind of cut corners and do things that weren't quite within business ethical guidelines. Like, she sort of moved out of that, right? She did it because she wanted to grow faster. She wanted more name recognition. She wanted this, she wanted that. And I get all that, right? But I was also, at the time when I was in the bank, I was very cutthroat, right? Like, if you want to grow, if you want to get more business, you have to follow certain rules. You have to follow certain structures, right? And within that structure, I can help you thrive. But if you deviate from that and you start doing things that are kind of shady, they're not super unethical, but it's not right. If you start doing things like that, that's not good with me, right? Because if I'm mentoring you and you're doing that, that looks bad on me. So in 2018, February, I approached her. I said, look, what you're doing is not right, right? I know you want to grow. I know you want to do this, but you can't cut corners and you have to go the path that is given to you, right? You have to do the work. And I know I'm being vague in like what work and what. Look, it's all banking terms. I don't wanna bore you with that. The main idea is that she was deviating from the path, right? She was deviating from the normal line of work that she was supposed to do to try to get ahead. And I wasn't okay with that. So I called her out on it, right? I called her out and I said, look, you can't be doing this. And she took that very personal, right? I think, like I said, she's an emotional human being, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Some human beings are more emotional than others. She took that and she took it the wrong way, right? She didn't like the way I approached her. She didn't like the way I sort of called her out. I mean, I didn't call her out in front of people, but I did approach her and I said, look, you can't be doing it this way, right? It was a one-on-one meeting. And over time, like in March, it got a little worse, right? She's just doing things that were just pissing me off here and there. So I had to call a meeting with her boss, and a couple of other people, and I wanted to sit together because I was genuinely concerned that she wasn't doing the right thing within the bank, right? Now, she took that meeting that I called, and she was not happy with it, right? She didn't. First of all, she didn't show up to the meeting. Matter of fact, she called HR. She called HR on me, and she said, "I'm not comfortable." Well, the reason she said that she's not going to join the meeting is because I'm not comfortable in that meeting. I want an HR representative there with me, within the meeting that I called with her and her boss. I said, "Okay, bring the HR representative. You want to take it, to HR? Let's do it, right?" Because in my head, I'm thinking, if you take this to HR, you're the only person that's going to look bad because you're doing things, all right, that are not within banking guidelines, right? Why do you want to expose that, right? We want to keep this in-house. Now, she calls HR. I get a call maybe about a week later, and it's the HR department, and they're calling me, and I was ready, right? I was about to explain what's going on, and if she wants to really go to war with me, let's go to war. All right, bitch, let's go to war. So I get the call, and the HR person says, is this Jonathan? I said, yes, it is. And look, this is let's just say her name is Sonia, right? I am Sonia, the senior human relations person, right? She's like some senior HR person. And I'm thinking, okay, like is this such an issue where you had to bring like the top person within the bank's HR? And I said, okay, how can I help? And she was like, do you know what allegations you are being charged with, right? Do you know what you're being accused of? And I said, yes, I know. I'm being accused of, making this certain colleague feel uncomfortable by calling a meeting to, discuss certain issues where she was breaking banking protocols. And the HR person says, well, I don't know anything about that, but you're being, I'm calling you because there are some serious concerns about sexual harassment to this individual. And I said, excuse me? Sexual harassment? Sexual harassment? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Right? So now I'm thinking, now it's like, as I'm on that phone conversation, now it's all coming back to me, right? Now it's all not coming back to me, but now I'm seeing what's going on. She called HR on me as in a way of like a retaliation, right? Like, in her head, she's thinking, oh, you're gonna call me out on what I'm doing. Okay, you're gonna call me out. Okay. Well, this is how I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna call HR on you and say you sexually harassed me. So, long story short, that was probably in April. There was an investigation. There was not really an investigation. And in July, I had a call with my boss, and they said, "Look, John, me and the bank and you, we've come to a decision where we wanted to part ways." Right? We wanted to part ways. Now, first, so let me get a couple of things clear. Okay, she called HR on me in retaliation, right, of me calling her out on doing certain things. And I'm not totally, I was mad at the time. right? I was totally, broken at the time. And I had to really think about it. And I was like, is it real? Was this really my fault? Was this really my fault that I've pushed this person to do this absolute bullshit HR call? And, the lesson that I kind of learned from that whole situation coming out of it was, I was too into this concept of loyalty, right? Because in the bank, and this is how, and I still operate to this day, but I obviously operate with more caution. At the bank, if you are supporting me and you're part of my team and I'm mentoring you or training you or helping you get to wherever you want to be, right? And you're loyal to me, then I'll be loyal to you to the end, right? Because that's something, I don't know why that's such a big thing to me, right? Within relationships, friendships, whatever relationship with other people, to me, loyalty is the absolute way of saying that there is this sort of bond, right? This love between human to human. It's this sense of loyalty, right? A lot of people don't get it. It's irrational. I get it, but to me, look, that's who I am. So now, for her to, who I thought was loyal to me, who I gave my loyalty to, for her to sort of break ranks and do this to me at the height. Remember, guys, this is 2018, right? 2018, February, March, April. You have to understand the times, right? You have to understand what's going on in the news at the time, right? In the news, you had Harvey Weinstein popping out. You had famous news anchors, famous actors. Me Too movement was going wild. All right, there was a series. There was a series of high profile people coming out and saying, that they were sorry and they were being accused and people were getting fired, canceled, whatever, right? And at that time, I remember the phone call. One of the phone calls that I had with the HR person, she said, "Do you understand the severity of the accusation? And are you watching the news, Jonathan? Do you see what's going on in the world? Do you know how serious this is?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know what's going on in the world. Yes, I know what kind of allegations are being thrown at me. Of course I know." Right. And of course I denied everything, and there was this quote unquote investigation. It was set up so where at the time, if anybody within the bank or certain corporations, if you're being called out and there was this power dynamic, right, of a more senior person to a less senior person, the senior person is a male, the less senior person is a female, and there was any sort of sexual harassment allegations, then your ass was out, okay? There was investigations, but not really, right? There was a lot of cases like that. And unfortunately, look, I'm not discrediting the Me Too movement, right? Like certain people, they need to, look, they fucked up and you get caught and you deserve what you deserve, okay? At the same time, there were a lot of people, including myself, who got caught in that mix of that crazy, let's get everybody time. And I was unfortunately one of those victims, right? It is what it is, okay? Now, look, why am I sharing this? I've learned a lot, right? I mean, I've had a lot. This was 2018, right? And the bank had said fuck off in 2018 July. And I had to really think. I had to really reassess who I invite in my life to either mentor or train or just as friends, whatever it may be. And I had to be really careful of how I did it, especially with women, right? And especially I learned in the workplace, don't make unnecessary, not unnecessary, but if you could avoid the situation that I just went through, avoid it, right? If there is someone that wants to move up, she looks a little unstable and she even let's say she was stable, right? Let's say this person is stable. You're a male and you're in a more senior position and she comes to you or you come to a place where you want to help her move up. The lesson I got from it was, if you can, right, if you're not obligated to do so, don't do it. Don't go out of your way to do that, right? Because unfortunately, you are opening yourself up to some ridiculous allegations, right? If things go sour. Now, I'm not saying they do go sour. I'm not saying that senior male and non-senior female relationships within the office, right, for mentorship or whatever it may be, I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. But, ever since the whole Me Too thing, men, you got to be a little bit more careful. Okay, you may trust this colleague, you may trust this person, but you really don't know, right? If things go sour, you don't know how things are going to play out. And especially if you're in a position of power, especially if you're in a position of authority, right? You got to be careful. If you're in a big corporate structure, you got to be careful. All right. So I hope you guys learned something about me with that story. I mean, that is a true story. And I know I didn't go into all the details. If you want more details, reach out to me. I'll tell you more details. But look, this episode is not really about that specific story. So moving on. Look, Andrew Cuomo. Okay, let's talk about Andrew Cuomo's allegations. All right, Andrew Cuomo's allegations. So if you haven't heard, the beloved governor of New York had two former aides, Charlotte Bennet and Lindsey Boylan, accusing the governor of sexual harassment, right? Some were verbal and one was physical. Now look, I want to actually read you the stories. So I know you all love it when I read you things because I'm just a great reader, being sarcastic. Let me read you a little bit, right? Like a couple of paragraphs of what Charlotte Bennet, what this particular former aide was accusing Andrew Cuomo of. All right, so let me read you a few things, and so you can get exactly what the accuser is saying. All right, so Bennet gave her story to the New York Times. The Times reported that she alleges that Cuomo asked her questions about her sex life, whether she was monogamous in her relationships, and if she had sex with older men. I understand that the governor wanted to sleep with me, and felt horribly uncomfortable and scared, Bennet said to the Times, and was wondering how I was going to get out of it and assumed it was the end of my job. She told the newspaper that the alleged harassment occurred late spring 2020 as the governor nor was publicly focused on COVID-19 pandemic. In one incident, Bennet allegedly told the Times that she was alone with Cuomo in his Capitol office in June 5th when he told her he was open to relationships with women in their 20s. In other remarks, she said, interpreted as clear overtures to a sexual relationship. Bennet claimed that the governor stated he was lonely due to the pandemic and couldn't even hug anyone before asking, who did I last hug? She is 25 years old. Cuomo is 63. According to the Times, she started working for Cuomo in 2019, 2 years out of college as a briefer. She became a senior briefer and an executive assistant after being interviewed by the governor. And it's in the story, but it also says she once played soccer in middle school against one of Cuomo's daughters. Lived near his home in Westchester County, the Times reported. Okay, so that's Charlotte Bennet, right? Let me read you a little bit of Lindsey Boylan's story. Okay, Lindsey Boylan or Boylan, I do not know how to pronounce that last name. Okay, let me read you a little bit of Lindsey Boylan's story. Let's play strip poker. I should have been shocked by the governor's crude comment, but I wasn't. We were flying from an October 2017 event in Western New York on his taxpayer-funded jet. He was seated facing me, so close our knees almost touched. His press aide was to my right and a state trooper behind us. Governor Andrew Cuomo has created a culture within his administration where sexual harassment and bullying is so pervasive that it is not only condoned but expected. His inappropriate behavior toward women was an affirmation that he liked you and that you must be doing something right. You used intimidation to silence his critics, and if you dared to speak up, you would face consequences. That's why I panicked on the morning of December 13. While enjoying a weekend with my husband and 6-year-old daughter, I spontaneously decided to share a small part of the truth that I had hidden for so long in shame and never planned to disclose. The night before, a former Cuomo staffer confided to me that she too had been subject of the governor's workplace harassment. Her story mirrored my own. Seeing his name floated as a potential candidate for the U.S. Attorney General, the highest law enforcement of the official in the land, set me off. Last week, Assemblymember Ron Kim spoke out publicly about the intimidation and abuse he had faced from Governor Cuomo and his aides. As Mayor de Blasio remarked, the bullying is nothing new. There are many more of us, but we are too afraid to speak up. I'm compelled to tell my story because no woman should feel forced to hide their experience of workplace intimidation, harassment, humiliation, not by the governor or anyone else. I expect the governor and his top aides will attempt to further disparage me, just as they've done with Assemblymember Kim. They'd lose their jobs if they didn't protect him. That's how his administration works. I know because I was a part of it. My first encounter with Governor Cuomo came in January 6, 2016 event at Madison Square Garden to promote the new Pennsylvania Station Farley Complex project. After his speech, he stopped to talk to me. I was on a new job and surprised by how much attention he paid to me. My boss soon informed me that the governor had a crush on me. It was uncomfortable but all too familiar feeling. The struggle to be taken seriously by a powerful man who tied my worth to my body and my appearance. Apparently, she must have been pretty. She's pretty. I saw a picture. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. The governor must have sensed my fear because he finally let me out of the office. So the story goes out about how Governor Cuomo invited Lindsey Boylan to his office at a certain event, and nothing happened. The governor let her go because he sensed that she was afraid. The governor must have sensed my fear because he finally let me out of the office. I tried to rationalize this incident in my head. At least he didn't touch me, and that made me feel better. His inappropriate gestures became more frequent. He gave roses to female staffers on Valentine's Day and arranged to have one delivered to me, the only one on my floor. A signed photograph of the governor appeared in my closed-door office while I was out. These were not so subtle reminders of him, the governor, exploiting the power dynamic within women around him. The governor's pervasive harassment extended beyond me. He made unflattering comments about the weight of female colleagues. He ridiculed them about their romantic relationships and significant others. He said that the reason that men get women were money and power. I tried to excuse his behavior. I told myself it's only words. But that changed after a one-on-one briefing with the governor to update him on the economic and infrastructure projects. We were in his New York City office on 3rd Avenue. As I got up to leave and walked toward an open door, he stepped in front of me and kissed me on the lips. I was in shock, but I kept walking. And on September 26, 2018, I sent a mass email informing staff members of my resignation. All right, so story's a lot longer. I'll give you guys the links. I'll put it up so you guys can read it, because I do want you to read these stories for yourselves, right? I want you to read the full story, because the position that I'm going to take, you just have to read the story to understand. Now, these stories broke out, right? You have Lindsey Boylan's story saying, let's play strip poker. He made all these gestures and comments, sent roses. And, at one point he even physically kissed her. Then you have Charlotte Bennett's story. She's a much younger age. I think she's like 25. And he also made very sexual, suggestive comments. Have you been with older men? Things like that. Are you in a monogamous relationship? Very inappropriate questions that you shouldn't ask, but he did. Now, look, Cuomo's response, right? So Cuomo gave a response. I think it was Sunday. He gave us like Sunday night. So look, listen to the response. Okay, listen to the response. Questions have been raised about some of my past interactions with people in the office. I never intended to offend anyone or cause any harm. I spent most of my life at work, and colleagues are often also personal friends. At work, sometimes I think I am being playful and make jokes that I think are funny. I do on occasion tease people in what I think is a good-natured way. I do it in public and in private. You have seen me do it at briefings hundreds of times. I have teased people about their personal lives, their relationships, and about getting married or not getting married. I mean no offense and only attempt to add some levity and banter to what is a very serious business. I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position, made others feel in ways I never intended. I acknowledge some of these things I have said have been misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation. To the extent anyone felt that way, I am truly sorry about that. To be clear, I never inappropriately touched anybody, and I never propositioned anybody, and I never intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but these are allegations that New Yorkers deserve answers to. That's why I have asked for an outside independent review to look at these allegations. Separately, my office has heard anecdotally that some people have reached out to Miss Bennet and to express displeasure about her coming forward. My message to anyone doing this is that you have misjudged what matters to me and my administration, and you should stop now, period. Statement from Governor Andrew Cuomo. Okay. All right, so I hope you're following, right? 2 women accused, sexual harassment, verbal, physical. And Andrew Cuomo's response is, well, I'm just playing, I was playing around, just being banter, right? I'm just joking, and this is how I do things. This is how I tease people about their personal lives, their relationships sometimes. I'm just having fun, and look, if you took it the wrong way, I'm sorry. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't, that's kind of what he's saying. Okay, so look, first of all, I actually believe, I would say like 95% of these women's stories, right? And I believe it because a couple of things, but one is because their accounts, it seems way too detailed, right? Way too detailed. If you read the stories, they talk about the exact place that they were in, what they saw and how everything went down, and it just seems very realistic, okay? Seems very realistic. Number two, I'm not surprised that Andrew Cuomo goes after younger women. Okay, I'm not surprised. Look, I'm not 100% sure that I'm not 100% sold that Cuomo, randomly just kissed Lindsey Boylan, right? Like they were in Lindsey Boylan went to his Manhattan office, and as she was leaving the office and before she got to the elevator, he just went up, randomly kissed her on the lips. That one is, I don't know if there's, I don't know how they're going to, there was no one around, right? I don't know how they're going to prove that, disprove that. I don't know. But besides that, I pretty much believe the rest. Right? Look, Cuomo, he doesn't explicitly deny the harassment, right? He doesn't call it harassment. He calls it banter. He calls it playful, teasing, making fun of, just, that. That's what he calls it. He only denies the actual physical part, the kissing, right? He also denies that he tried to proposition, like having sex with him. But now look, guys, whether you're a Cuomo fan or not, okay, this is the honest truth here, guys. Look, let's be very honest. Men sometimes can be very disgusting. All right. They can be absolutely very disgusting. Now, Cuomo is a man. He's not above the human nature of men. He is a man, right? He's a man in his 60s. He's not married. He got out of his long-term relationship in 2019, and he's in a position of power. Look, what happened with Cuomo is that his little head, right, was taken over when he was saying these things to women. Look, he probably did want to smash Lindsey and Charlotte. He most definitely did, right? He definitely did want to have sex with them, right? He wanted that wop. Now look, I'm not gonna crucify the guy because he made some flirty and sexual remarks. Listen to what I'm saying before you throw the pitchforks, right? I'm not going to crucify the guy because he made some flirty, on the sole basis of some flirty sexual remarks. Like, that's human nature. That happens all the time. Right, guys, if you work in offices, right? I've worked in the office setting for 6 years. It happens all the time. Okay? Not just within offices, outside of offices, between man and woman, it happens all the time. Making, suggestively sexual remarks, being flirty, saying stupid shit. Guys do it, unfortunately, all the time. It is what it is. Man wants to fuck a woman. They'll do and they'll say and they'll be irrational, and all logic sometimes just go off, right? It's part of human nature. Now, listen. Now here is where the governor fucked up. Okay, here is where the governor fucked. This is important. Look, you are the governor of New York. Okay, you're the governor of New York. You're in a massive position of power. All right. The governor of New York is not the same as the governor of Idaho. It's not the same as the governor of Arkansas or Kansas, right? Nothing against those states, but let's be very honest, folks. If you're the governor of New York, right, within governors, I'm sure there's a hierarchy, right? New York is probably, if you're the New York governor, you're probably the top dog. You're in a massive position of power. Okay. You are. That's being a governor of New York is no joke, right? That's in the United States. If you're a governor of like California, New York, these big states, there is scrutiny and there is responsibility and power that comes with it. So with this position of power, right? With this position of power, you approach women, right? You go to certain women, you hire, right? You give the okay. Sometimes you directly hire certain women because they're attractive and whatnot, and you make certain sexual suggestive comments, advances. No, right? That's where you fucked up. That's where Andrew Cuomo fucked up, right? Because essentially what you're doing is you're using your power. You're using your position, right? I'm the big guy. I'm the top dog within New York, right? In terms of government, I'm the top guy. And the truth is, him wielding that sort of influence and that sort of power when he approached women and when he, did whatever with women. Look, the very honest truth is, there were probably many women. There were probably a lot of women that he did this to. And out of, let's say, 10 women he did this to, a good number of them probably fucked Andrew Cuomo. Let's be honest here, folks, right? I mean, if you're a young woman and you join the New York government, right, and you're part of the government and you want to go up in your career, and Andrew Cuomo makes this proposition to you, and if you fuck the guy and you do some shit with him and you entertain him for a little bit, you can sort of move up, right? News reporters, right? You want to get some more juicier stories. This is a very common thing, right? You sleep with politicians and they give you some stories, right? Now look, if that's what some women did, fine. I have nothing against that. I have nothing against women who do that. Really, I have nothing against women who do that. Now look, the problem is Andrew Cuomo, right, being the governor of New York, you can't be using your power. You can't be using your position of authority to intimidate, to coerce, to attract women within your office. This is the problem, right? The exact problem is within your little kingdom that you have, right? Within New York politics, you can't be approaching women and trying to fuck them. You can't be doing that. Okay, now look, I don't care if Andrew Cuomo goes out to a bar and he flirts with women, whether they're 25, I don't give a shit. Whether they're 55, I don't care. That's none of my business. Right? And he said creepy things to them. He said, do you like fucking older guys? Like, I don't care if Andrew Cuomo does that. Right? That's his business. Now, it becomes a problem, a huge problem, if you are bringing those tendencies in your office and you're doing it to women who are, within your office, right? Look, there's no one above you. You're the top guy in New York. You're the top guy in New York, and you approach women, and it's a power dynamic, right? Women, a lot of these women, they probably did say yes. They probably fucked him, right? There's probably a tons of buried stories, right? Now, look, that doesn't give the green light to Cuomo. That doesn't mean that he's, yes, Andrew Cuomo, absolutely, because other women did it, that means you can keep, your behavior is being enabled. No, absolutely not. That's where he fucked up, right? The part where look, I don't care if he said sexual things to women. I don't care if he was playful and he tried to, he tried to sleep with different women. I don't care, right? But if you do that within your office, where you are the king, and you do that to women who are basically working for you, that's the problem. That's just not being smart, right? That's just your little head talking instead of your big head, right? That's your big head shutting off and your little head taking over. Okay, Andrew Cuomo, you're 60 years old, my man. You're the governor of New York. You've been doing this for, over 10 years. You've been governor of New York. I mean, for over 10 years. You have a history, right? Your father was a governor of New York, right? Can't you think with your big head just for a second? Look, I know the women are attractive. I know, you're in your office and you see young, pretty female colleagues, and I get you. But look, my guy, you're still the governor of New York. Okay, if you really wanted to smash, if you really wanted to do something, if you needed to get some steam off, okay, go on online dating sites, go outside and meet people, all right, outside your kingdom. The fact that you had to, I don't want to say pray, but it kind of is, right? The fact that you had to lure and try to get women that work under you and use and show off like, oh, I'm the governor of New York and this is my office and I got a box of cigars from the Clintons back in when I used to work for the Clinton administration. The fact that you got to do that, to me, it just looks so childish, right? Right? I mean, and look, I get, and I said this before, I'm not going to crucify the guy because of him, making sexual remarks and all that, but it's where you're doing it is the problem. Okay, it's where you're doing it is a problem. Now, look, what's even more crazy to me of this story is the fact that he's got top female aides, right? So there's Cuomo, and then there are his his secretary, chief of staff, blah blah blah, and there's a lot of high females within position of power within New York State government, and it seems like they all knew what was going on. They all knew Cuomo, he likes women. And unfortunately, he approaches women within the office, right? And they covered for him. Melissa DeRosa covering for Cuomo, right? Telling other women to, hey, look, don't say, trying to shut them up. Like, to me, that's even more insane, right? The fact that he has certain high people, right, positions in power within New York State government covering for Andrew Cuomo is, to me, that's just crazy. But look, that's politics. That's politics. And look, what's the conclusion? Guys, there will be an independent investigation by the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. And before we throw any stones and before we call people names, let's just see how the cards play out, right? Let's just see where this investigation comes to. Hopefully they do get to the bottom of it, and hopefully that these women get justice for, if they were actual victims, that they will get justice, which I do believe. I do believe that these two women went through what they went through. Again, I'm not too sure about that kiss, but in terms of Cuomo saying sexual things, that sort of stuff, I'm pretty sure he did that and much worse, and to way many women for a long period of time, right? We're only hearing two. But we're not hearing about the other women who actually slept with Cuomo and moved up in the ladder and, went to different, we don't know, right? Guys, look, the unfortunate thing about this whole situation is we don't see any of the bigger mayoral candidates, right? So New York City, we're going to have a new mayor next year, right? There's going to be a primary in June and an election in November. And I don't see any of them. Calling out Cuomo. Right? I don't see any of them calling out Cuomo for the nursing home debacle, which in my opinion is a bigger issue than these sex scandals or these harassment scandals. I don't see any of them. I don't see, Scott Stringer. I don't see Andrew Yang calling out the governor of New York for this, right? And I get it. It takes big balls to call out on your future potential boss, right? You don't want to, you don't want to be in the wrong line. So I get it, but I do wish, I want to see that, right? Like if you're gonna be about that progressive life, right? Because all these mayors are super progressive and believe in women and all these things, then you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? You got to put that in action. And the first big candidate to call out Andrew Cuomo and said, yes, there needs to be investigation. These women need to be believed. These women need to be heard. That's gonna be fun, right? That's gonna be fun to watch, guys. If you haven't done so, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and comment. If you're also listening on Apple, please drop a review. Give me the stars. All right, so moving on, guys. Let's talk about Minari real quick. There's not too much to talk about the film Minari, but let's just talk about it real quick. Now, I have spoken about Minari in maybe 3-4 episodes ago, and the premise is, guys, Minari is an American film. It's an American film, and it recently just won the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Foreign Language. Okay, foreign fucking language, right? We all knew this was an issue, but it is what it is, right? Like I've spoken about this before. Guys, if you haven't watched Minari, buy the ticket. Watch the film. All right, watch the film. Support. Look, the idea is it's not a Marvel movie, okay? It's not $100 million budget film, but guys, I think to really be in solidarity with the greater Asian American community, you can spend $20 and watch a film. Okay? You spend all that other money watching Marvel movies and all these other things on Netflix. Guys, watch the film, right? I'm only saying it to support the cast, to support the independent, the filmmakers, directors. Watch the film. Now, look, I have watched it, and no spoilers, but I have watched the film, and it's okay. Right? Like I wish I can be like, it just made me tears, cry. It was no. All right, no. No. It was okay. Okay, I'll leave it at that. It was okay. It's a little long, in my opinion. Again, I don't want to give spoilers. Watch it. You tell me how it is. Okay? Look, if you haven't watched Minari and you want to watch it, reach out to me and I'll buy some tickets. Why not? Because it is still worth watching regardless of do I think it was okay or not. Now, look, on that note, right? Because I feel the way I feel, if Minari wasn't categorized as a foreign film and it was just a normal film, should this film be nominated for Best Motion Picture, right? Not foreign film, but just general, Best Motion Picture. And I'm gonna have my reservations, right? I'm gonna pause because I still believe in meritocracy. Okay, it's gotta be a good film, man. It's gotta be, if you wanna, I don't know what the kind of marks are or how films are graded, but just personally, if Minari was nominated to be a Best Motion Picture, I would even say I don't even think it should have been nominated, and I don't think it should have won, even if it was on let's just say not foreign film, but on as a regular award, Best Motion Picture. I don't think it should have won. But again, guys, that's just me. Maybe I'm just being a hater. I don't know. Watch the film. If you want to watch the film, you haven't watched it, reach out to me and I'll buy you a ticket. All right, guys, look, but watching the film, it has brought a lot of old sentiment, right? Well, not old sentiment, but I guess it really made me reflect, right? Because when you watch the film, like you guys know the premise, it's about a Korean family, immigrant family, and they go out to Arkansas. Well, they're originally from California, and they go out to Arkansas to try to, create this American dream. And watching the dynamics of the relationships between the children, the parents, and their communities, and just watching that. It made me think, right? It made me think really, what does it mean to be Asian American? Guys, what does it mean to be Asian American? Right? Because that film is all about being an American, but also you are Asian. And I really had a, it brought me to a point where I try to I try to think, what does it mean, right? What does it mean to be Asian American? Because the term Asian American itself, it's kind of weird, right? Because we're not, everyone who's Asian, we have so many different ethnicities. And there's so many differences. It's like this is there even such thing as Asian American culture? Is that even a thing? And I was thinking about all these things. And the thoughts that really came to mind is just really myself, right? I can only speak about me and what I went through, and understanding that I am an Asian American, and what does that mean to me personally, and what do I see with other Asian Americans in my life, right? And how, and I compare and I see, and is this the American dream? Is this the American path? So guys, quick rundown. I dropped out of college in 2009, right after my father had a heart attack, and he wasn't able to support both him and me, right, financially. So I had to drop out of school and I had to work. I had to make sure that there's food on the table, roof over our heads. This is when I was 19 years old, right? And fast forward in 2013, I joined a bank, right? And it's I don't have a college degree. I don't have much experience of banking, nothing. And look, basically my only shot in my eyes, and the way I saw it, and the way I felt, was my only shot to live the typical Asian American life, right? The American dream that all of our parents wanted as children of immigrants. It was shattered, right? It was absolutely destroyed, shattered when the bank had let me go. Now you have to understand, I have no degree to fall back on, right? I mean, and also there is this stain on my banking licenses, right? And just, to put it plainly, I was completely fucked. No, look, not even non-financial institutions, they didn't give me a chance, right? They didn't give me a chance. They didn't, because there's no degree behind it, right? So you're this awkward person who has no degree, but you have all this banking experience and all this sales experience. Well, where are we going to use you? We can't use you in like a starter position because you have all that experience, but we can't put you in a more, middle senior position because you have no degree. And degree, to a lot of American companies, it still holds a lot of weight. So I'm being dicked around, right? I'm being dicked around throughout my time when I was unemployed, can't get a job. And that's when I realized, that's when I really realized, right, that the life that my father and my mother, that what they had envisioned of me having, I realized it wasn't going to happen. Right? I'm not going to become a doctor. I'm not going to become someone that has a nice, cushiony, high-paying job, right? When the bank let me go, that was it for me. Couldn't get work anywhere in any company, right? If I showed you the amount of places I have a list of all the places I've applied to, how many times I worked on my resume and all these things, and how many times I've talked to different people about, it would be absolutely crazy. And I'm thinking, it just, to me, it made no sense. I try to rationalize why I'm not getting calls back, and it made no sense. But look, the point is, as I was reflecting and thinking about this, I thought about the reality, right, that many of us in the Asian American community that are children of immigrants, right? So people of my generation, people that are children of immigrants, I'm thinking about that, many of us, they're not your typical college-educated, cushy salary, 9-to-5 Asians. They're not everybody has, unfortunately, finished school, found a job and is just going in that trajectory, right? Having a 401k, having a savings, and then getting married and getting a house, and look, that's what I wanted. Right? That's what I personally wanted. I wanted to live a normal fucking life. All right? I don't want to make too much money. I don't want to make no money, but I didn't get that. And I see people around me, right? I see people that I grew up with and people that go to church, and I see that, and I see them, they're all somewhat more or less having that. And over the past year or so, I think I've come to a point where I've also seen a lot of people that are not that. They're not college educated like me. Okay, but they're hardworking. And they're hardworking gig workers, right? Or they're self-employed workers, or they're artists, or whatever it is. And whether you chose that path or was forced upon you, I want to let those Asian Americans know. Right? I want to let those Asian Americans know that you're not alone. Right? Listen, shout outs to all the single moms out there, right? The single dads, the individuals that are taking care of their parents financially, physically, emotionally. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of these Asian Americans. And I'm going to call them the atypical East Asian American, right? The atypical East Asian American, man, some of you guys, you've been dealt an impossible hand, or a really hard fucking hand. And I know what that's like, right? Just failure after more and more hurdles in life, like nothing, there's no break that's ever given to you. And you keep going. And these Asian Americans, they keep going. I want to just preface East Asian, right? We're talking about the Chinese Americans, the Korean Americans, Japanese Americans, right? You guys have friends that are in a certain path, and you're not in that path, just like me, not really in that path. Look, guys, I want to leave you with this. The children of Asian immigrants, okay? The children of Asian immigrants in America, we're diverse, right? Some of us are executives, business owners, artists, musicians, bankers, lawyers, doctors, designers, entertainers, restaurant workers, and much more, right? The children of Asian immigrants in America some of us are progressives, we're liberals, Democrats, independents, classical liberals, Republicans, libertarians, conservatives. We all look different, right? Some of us light-skinned, dark-skinned, short, tall, heavy, slim, good-looking, some not so good-looking. Children of Asian immigrants, we're all different ethnicities, man. Some of us are Chinese, we're Taiwanese, we're Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, Filipino, Thai, Malay, Cambodian, Mongolian, Hmong, Indonesian, Indian, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, and so much more, right? Guys, we're not a monolith. What does it mean to be Asian American? What does it mean when your parents come from a different country and they try to make a life here, and you are being labeled as an Asian, and you grew up here and you're a citizen, so now you are part of the greater American society. You are now an Asian American. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? What is the path that lies ahead of us as a collective group, right? Even though we are so different. And it's hard to say that there's even a certain Asian American culture because we're just so different. We still need to come together. And we still have to build our own path. I don't think that path is really there right now. I don't think that we have a set structure within the United States where Asian Americans are being recognized in a certain way, because even to this day, we are still being pulled either, you're white adjacent, or you're just super progressive and all you care about is black people, right? In other words, you're either white or you're black. And I'm here to tell you guys, we have our own identity. And it's not about being, white adjacent. It's not about being a super activist and being about people of color. And it's not even about that. What I'm talking about is that Asian Americans, we have our own identity. And as our voices are being more and more heard, and as Asian Americans, the challenges as people within our community are being enlightened, are being now challenged to really think, what does it mean to be Asian American? What does it mean to have our own space within America, right? To me, it's not very figured out yet. It's not very figured out yet, right? You're either POC or you're white adjacent. We're being pulled left and right. Guys, we are Asian American. We have our own path, and we have to build our own path. And to do that, we raise resources. You raise your voices, you raise resources, you gather, you make sure that you don't take shit, right, for being Asian American. And as we do that, and as we build coalitions, and as we build coalitions within the different minorities, and as we make sure that our voices are heard and that we are seen, right, and the issues that we face within our community are being taken care of, and we have representation in media, in government, in Hollywood, wherever it may be, slowly, I think, in my opinion, slowly, the idea of being Asian American, the idea that we are a people, that there is a certain identity and that we can be proud of, I think that path will eventually be made. It's not done yet, but hopefully in my lifetime it will. Guys, thank you, right? Thank you for listening to the Millennial Boomer Podcast. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Millennial Boomer Podcast on Spotify and Apple. And, if you haven't done so as well, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe, comment, tell me that I'm crazy, tell me that I'm such a boomer, whatever it is. I appreciate everything. Guys, thank you. Catch you next time.